So what's up YouTube, my name is Kenny G, I'm a senior iOS engineer. In today's video, we're going to talk about how do you stay motivated when you're first learning how to code. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button below, also hit the like button, it definitely helps out the channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. So when you're first learning how to code, you want to make sure you try to take small wins over large wins. So what do I mean by that? So when you're first learning how to code, learning how to code is very similar to learning math to some degree. So just follow me on this. When you're first learning about math, typically you're going to start with addition, subtraction, and then once you learn addition and subtraction, you're going to learn multiplication, then division. Once you've mastered those four, then you're going to move into the next topics, which you'll eventually get to fractions and different other things. Once you learn those things, then you finally eventually move over to algebra, and then once you learn algebra, you go to calculus, and so forth, obviously. So when you learn how to code, it's very, very similar. You want to start off with things that are very small in chunks for you to take on, and then eventually you graduate into those other larger areas. Now, I know this sounds pretty easy to just think of intuitively, but you have to try to narrow the scope down very, very small when you're first learning how to write code. So for me, what I would say is if you're someone who's learning how to do, say you're trying to be a front-end engineer. If you're trying to be a front-end engineer, you're probably going to start off with just HTML first. First, just learn HTML, learn the tags, how they work, and so forth. Once you learn HTML, then you'll slowly, eventually migrate over to CSS. But the key thing is before you move over to CSS, make sure you seriously understand HTML backwards and forwards. You don't have to be a master of anything, but at least know how to work with HTML, how to create tags, how to put them on the page, how to get things to display a little bit. And in all honesty, the biggest thing with programming that I think a lot of people tend to forget is have fun when it comes to writing code. Build out things that are very weird, crazy, fun, funny, come up with crazy names of certain things, and just continue to just build things out with something that's very small. If you're an iOS developer out there and you're trying to learn iOS development, but it's very hard, just start with something simple. Create a view, put a button on the screen, and just see if you can add multiple buttons all over the screen. See if there's a way you can add some weird constraints, eventually move over into collection views as well as table views. And see if you can get data inside those collection views and table views. See if you can have them display a certain way. Try to see if you can mimic another screen that you've seen before online or in another app. You don't have to have the data in there, just see if you can mimic what you see. The biggest thing with programming that honestly helps you the most when it comes to learning, and it's going to keep you much more motivated, is just exploring different options, different ways of doing things. And I think that's going to take you very, very far. And by doing that, it's much better than trying to say oh, you want to learn how to build, Instagram, but Instagram is very difficult to build. You can't build Instagram overnight. So you're going to start off with something very, very small and make sure you understand the concepts first, and then eventually graduate into those other areas. And when you decide to go to graduate into those other areas or those other topics, just see if you can combine the things you already know with those new topics. And it's kind of like a combo effect. You just try to add one thing on top of another and see if it helps build it into your memory, then it becomes muscle memory, and before you know it, hey, you're a programmer. So the second thing I recommend you do is schedule when you're going to learn. So what I mean by that is make a schedule for yourself. So for me, although I'm a senior iOS engineer, I still schedule out my learnings of what things I do want to learn. So if that's around architecture, whether that's around CI/CD pipelines or whatever, I have a schedule of okay, I need to learn this, and this over the course of say a month or two. So I may start off again from step one, break things out into very small chunks. By breaking things out in small chunks, they're much easier to digest, much easier to grasp, much easier to learn. Once I've understand the concept of something, then from there, I go into actually trying to build it. So if that's, something small, again, going around and trying to learn HTML, you start with HTML, get a web page up, you understand what tags are and, the different types of tags you can use, like header tags or so forth. Then you go into saying okay, let me add these on the page, see how they work, how do they look? Can I change the style of different things? Can I add different, features to this tag? What's some crazy combos you can do in tags? And just explore from there. Same thing. just biggest thing is make sure you set a schedule for yourself, whether that's in the morning or at night. Make sure you set a schedule around a time where you know for sure you can be sitting down and you have at least, I would honestly say, about an hour and a half to just knock out whatever learning you're going to be doing. Make sure it's around no distractions or anything like that. If possible, see if you can go to a completely different location that's away from your home. Sometimes that helps me. Sometimes I like to go to like Starbucks, grab a cup of coffee, sit down for like 2 hours and just hash out any learnings I'm trying to go through. That tends to help me the most, one, because I'm around other people who honestly, they don't know me, but I feel a little bit more motivated around other people who are working on something, whether they're like reading a book, doing some schoolwork or so forth. That just helps me and gets me in that point of actually being motivated and wanting to work. 2, I've set a set schedule knowing like, hey, I'm gonna do this at 7 p.m. every day or 7 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday, and I just go through the process of doing the work. Having that schedule in place helps you out a ton. It ensures that you're gonna go through and truly learn versus just going through and just, forgetting about it and not worrying about it or so forth. So yeah, have that schedule in mind. It's best if you can, have it on your phone so that it buzzes you like, hey, it's 7 o'clock or it's 6:30, almost 7. You need to be heading to Starbucks or wherever else we need to be going, just so we can go ahead and get started on whatever work you need to be doing. So the third tip I have is tell someone else about the things you're learning. So you may not get this, but in all honesty, if you go through the process of telling somebody else like, hey, I'm learning iOS development, I'm learning front-end programming or whatever, typically you're going to be forced to continue to learn just because of the fact your friend or a family member, whoever you told that you're learning whatever you're learning, they're probably going to ask about it. They're going to ask like, hey, so how's it going with, the new journey you're trying to go through with learning how to program, if you're learning front end, mobile, whatever. And that's going to push you even further to be like, okay, I really do need to like work on this. And it's kind of the same as if you told somebody like you're going to work out. Like, hey, I'm going to work out on Saturday, or, my plan is to work out for the next month or two. That next month or so, you're going to see that person that you've told that you're going to be working out, and they're going to ask like, hey, so how's the workout going? How's the diet going? So same concept. If you tell someone that you're going to be going through the process of learning something, it really is going to force you in the direction to learn, because you're not going to have much of a choice, because otherwise you're going to get annoyed with someone constantly asking you about it all the time. So that's just another helpful tip. The other thing I'll say is, which I think this is probably like my fourth tip, write down every single morning what you're going to learn for that day. So if you're going to be going through the process of learning something brand new, programming wise, and you're trying to keep yourself motivated, if you write it down, it's going to also pretty much ingrain in your mind like, okay, I need to work on this. Because if you don't do it on Monday, you're going to write it down again on Tuesday, and again on Wednesday, and on Thursday, on Friday. So writing it down every single day helps ingrain in your mind that, hey, I do need to work on this. It also keeps it fresh on your memory, so it forces you to go ahead and go and learn whatever you need to be learning. I used to do this with my schoolwork, came to studying, with anything I wanted to study, programming wise, religious wise, so forth. It's just, sitting down and writing things out helps a ton. So I highly, highly, highly recommend writing things down that you want to learn for that day. Also, it's helpful even if you have goals. So if you have a goal that you want to achieve by the end of the year, write that goal down. I know it seems crazy, but in all honesty, it's worked for me, tons of other people. It just helps keep that goal or whatever that thing that you want to do fresh on your mind. You see it every single day, and it's definitely going to help you and motivate you when you go down that pipeline of actually, reaching that goal that you have for yourself. So if coding is the main one and you're trying to learn something new in programming, each week, make it a new goal, write it down, say like, hey, this week, each day I'm gonna spend 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours on whatever this subject is. I don't know it as of yet, but I'm gonna learn it. And, pace yourself out. Don't stress yourself out if it takes you 2 or 3 weeks to grasp a concept. Everybody doesn't learn how to code in 3 months. So don't let YouTube tell you that. If it takes you 10 times longer, if it takes you 2 years, 3 years, hey, that's you. Go at your own pace, learn at your own time schedule. Don't go with anyone else's time schedule. Just go with the fact that, hey, you're gonna learn this. It's gonna take time. It's not easy, but you will get there, especially if you're writing it down every single day and you're putting in that work and you're putting in practice. And the last tip I have for you is take the necessary breaks that you need. So try not to cram everything in at one time, but I do understand some people are kind of on a short time schedule when it comes to learning how to code, because you want to get out the job that you're currently working. you want to do something else. So I totally get that. But take short breaks. If you're feeling like, you're learning something, but you're getting stuck and it's complicated and it's hard to understand, hey, get up, walk away from it, come back to it, an hour, 2 hours, even a day. If it takes a day and you're that stressed out about it, give it a day or two. Come back to it with a fresh mind, fresh set of eyes, look into whatever you're working on, and then continue to learn from there. I can't tell you how many times I even do that to this day, and I work a job as an engineer. There's plenty of times I run into problems that I'm stuck on that I can't solve, that in all honesty, even my manager and other people would tell you, like, yeah, you're gonna have to get up and go and do something else for like an hour or two and then come back to whatever you were struggling with. Regardless if it was something complicated to learn, or even if it's just something that you're struggling with trying to understand, and it's not the most intuitive thing to learn. Programming in general can be very, very complicated. So in a lot of cases, you have to get up and walk away from it for a little while. Otherwise, you're gonna feel it's like your brain's gonna explode. So you gotta take your time to just walk away from it, come back to it. Don't stay too long, but walk away, come back, fresh mind, fresh set of eyes, and then just look back into whatever you were working on and continue to go from there. Don't stress yourself out feeling as though you gotta learn everything in one day. Not the case. Take your time learning whatever you're learning, and it'll also help you stay much more motivated. If you come into this, especially coding wise, and you feel as though you gotta learn everything in a day or 2 days or a month, yeah, it's gonna be stressed out. It's gonna be very, very hard to grasp all them concepts at one time and to actually be successful enough to go and find a job. So you need to do all the steps I've given you to help you, and it's gonna help you stay motivated by breaking things down into small parts, taking those little small chunks that you're gonna be working with, expound on them. If you're learning one subject and you've mastered the one subject, learn the second subject, combine the two subjects together if you can, and then see if you can build something around it. Make coding fun for yourself. Don't stress yourself out too much about it. And, that's going to truly, truly help you stay motivated and keep you ingrained in the code. Going through them tutorials online, even if you use Udemy, YouTube, or whatever, and you're trying to follow a tutorial, you can't just fly through the tutorial and just think you're going to just grasp those concepts. It don't work like that. You're going to have to go over a concept, pause the video, go build something on your own. Even if it's the same exact thing you just watched in the video, go build it on your own, add something else to it, some new colors, new text, whatever. Then come back to it, add on other features, go back to what you was working on before for like an hour or two a day and just add new things to it. And then from there, you'll slowly start truly, truly learning how to code. You can't learn how to code from a tutorial. They're just gonna teach you, we're just gonna build, Tinder. And then you just think you know how to write code just because you built a Tinder app that someone walked you through. Like, nah, it's not gonna work like that. Because what do you do if you need to add other functionality to it? Now you're lost. So break things down into small parts, learn those small parts first, and then you'll be good, down the road. So that's pretty much it. Hope you guys stay motivated. If you like what you saw, make sure you hit the like button below. Also hit the subscribe button. Videos every Tuesday and Thursday. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See you.